Okay, today we are diving into an absolutely epic story. We're talking heroes, collapse, and an incredible rebirth. A 3,000-year saga that literally laid the foundations of the Western world. You've heard the names, right? The Trojan War, Odysseus, the mighty Achilles. But have you ever stopped to wonder if those legends were actually rooted in a real time and place? Well, they were. Our story kicks off more than 5,000 years ago on the shores of the beautiful and often turbulent Aegean Sea. So we're about to embark on a journey to explore these Aegean civilizations. And this isn't just one simple story. Think of it more like a grand saga in 3 distinct acts, and each one has its own incredible drama and a legacy that lasts to this day. Act 1. This starts way back, around 3000 BC. We call it the early period, or you might know it as the Bronze Age. This was an era of just monumental palaces, powerful kings, and mind-blowing artistic achievements. So grand, in fact, that its memory was preserved for centuries as pure legend. Now, this timeline is basically our map for this whole story. It's super clear. We start with that early period, the Age of Heroes. Then things take a turn, and we fall into this mysterious middle period, often called the Dark Ages. But then we rise again, into the famous classical period, which is Greece's golden age. This is our roadmap. You know, this early period is the real-world backdrop for Homer's epic poems, the Iliad and the Odyssey. So when you're reading about these sprawling palaces and legendary wars, you're actually getting a mythologized peek into the actual Bronze Age. How cool is that? 2 major powers really dominated this era. First, you have the Minoans, down on the island of Crete. They were this vibrant artistic culture known for their stunning frescoes and these crazy labyrinth-like palaces. Then, up on the Greek mainland, the Mycenaeans rose up, a much more militaristic society of warriors and traders who would become the heroes of Homer's tales. But this golden age of legends, well, it wasn't destined to last. A mysterious and massive collapse swept across the entire region. It plunged these advanced civilizations into a long period of decline and, well, that's what ushers in Act 2 of our story. For about 300 years, everything just seemed to fall apart. Grand palaces crumbled to dust, the art of writing was completely forgotten, and communities shrank, becoming smaller and more isolated. Historians call this the Dark Ages, but not because the people were ignorant, not at all. It's because our historical records from this time are so scarce, it's like the lights went out for us, leaving this whole period shrouded in mystery.
And yet, this wasn't just an ending. This period of collapse, it actually acted like a crucible, a super hot furnace that burns away impurities. It broke down the old world of kings and empires, and out of those ashes, a revolutionary new idea for how to organize a society started to take shape.
And here is the crucial point. This is a game changer. Instead of rebuilding one single large kingdom, the people organized themselves into hundreds of independent city-states. This political fragmentation became the defining feature of Greece. It created intense rivalry, for sure, but it also acted as this supercharged engine for innovation. By having so many little independent labs, you basically created a competitive marketplace of ideas about government, culture, and science, which ultimately fueled the explosion of genius that was about to come. Which brings us to Act 3, starting around 800 BC. After the total reset of the Dark Ages, Greece enters its classical period. This was a true rebirth of genius that would produce some of the most influential ideas in all of human history. This, my friends, is the Golden Age. I mean, just look at this list. The concepts that burst onto the scene in this period are staggering. Democracy, the radical idea that citizens should rule themselves. Theater and drama as we know it. Philosophy, the love of wisdom itself. A systematic approach to science. These weren't just new ideas, they were literally world-changing. And during this golden age, 2 city-states rose above all the others, representing 2 totally different ideals. You had Athens, the birthplace of democracy, and this bustling hub of art, philosophy, and theater. And then you had Sparta, a rigid, disciplined society focused entirely on one thing, creating the perfect soldier. Their intense rivalry would come to define the entire era. So, how did this incredible period end? Well, like all golden ages, it couldn't last forever. But the story doesn't just stop here. It transforms, and its influence begins to spread far, far beyond the shores of the Aegean. The end of this classical period is really marked by the rise of Alexander the Great, He conquered the vast Persian Empire, and in doing so, he spread Greek language, art, and ideas from Egypt all the way to India. So even though the city-states lost their independence, first to Alexander's successors, and then eventually to the rising power of Rome, their cultural conquest had really just begun. And that, right there, is the most important takeaway. While the Greek city-states were eventually conquered, their ideas about government, science, art, and what it even means to be human, they were so powerful that they were adopted and adapted by the Romans. And through Rome, they have echoed down through the centuries to shape the very world we live in today.
So the next time you vote in an election, or you go see a play, or you just get into a good debate about a big idea with a friend, take a moment to think about this incredible 3-act story of collapse and rebirth. It really leaves us with a question, doesn't it? How do you see the legacy of this ancient civilization playing out in your own life?